back to For the Record. Friday marked 2 years of the Community Alternative Response Emergency Services within the Madison Fire Department. The CARES program was designed as a resource for behavioral health emergencies in the city. Joining us to talk about what's ahead for the program is Assistant Chief Chase Stedman. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So, getting started this morning, could you first start off by telling us what the initial program goals were when it was created 2 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the program was created as an alternative response to nonviolent behavioral health emergencies in the city, and it was an alternative to law enforcement responses, which has historically been, the kind of primary response for mental health emergencies, like it is in most cities. So we were tasked with, having a civilian team of a crisis worker and a paramedic to be a non-law enforcement response to these crises in our city.
Based on the 2022 annual report that came out, only 3% of CARES patients have been transferred to police. Can you tell me about the intentions behind that?
Yeah, well, we've been on over 3,200 calls now total. So those are calls that are more than 90% handled by the CARES team themselves. But we do work very closely with police. Being that some of these calls do involve weapons possibly or some sort of violent behavior, oftentimes in those cases, police will respond first. And then the CARES team will respond in and assist the police officers. Occasionally, the CARES team will respond first to a call and find something that law enforcement is needed for. For instance, protective custody for a person that is suicidal and has a plan. Those folks need care and oftentimes need police assistance for those things. So the CARES team has had to hand off patients to the police department for those more legal issues and protective custody.
Based on that same report, CARES has responded to a total of 935 calls in that particular year that was documented. So that's averaging 78 responses a month. How did that line up with what the department expected?
Yeah, it was hard to have really accurate expectations. We know the police department had gone on around 7,000 mental health related calls a year, and so we knew that there was a large volume of calls that we were going to have, but we had to start small so that we were thoughtful about the process that we were going through. We did a lot of research around the country, making sure that what we were doing was best practice. So we started with our initial team just working in the Central Police District Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Just to kind of get our feet wet and make sure that we were doing was appropriate for our citizens. And since then, luckily, because we've had really good support of the city council and the community at large, we've been able to expand. So the calls that we went on that first year were really with just one team. And since we've expanded to 2 teams, we've expanded the geographic area, and we've also expanded the different locations of the teams to be a more appropriate response to different parts of the city. So as we've expanded the size of our team and all those other things, our call volume has increased. So, that first year was 935 calls. The second year we ran over 2,000 calls.
Okay. So then moving into this next year, there are 2 existing teams. Yes. The goal is to expand. What does that look like in the coming year? Yeah,
so actually on September 16th, so in just a few weeks, we're going to be expanding to weekend hours because currently our teams are working from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. So this weekend expansion is going to allow us to provide services 7 days a week. And then later this year, we're hoping to add a 3rd team during the week, during the peak hours. And peak hours for us means that we know that there is a certain time of day that these types of calls generally happen, or the volume of these calls is much higher. So we try to put our folks in service during those times.
How do you feel about the progress over these 2 years overall?
I'm just really proud of our teams, honestly. So the operations have gone great. We're the crisis worker and the paramedic, those teams are doing fantastic work and, doing on-scene interventions, de-escalating the situation and referring those folks to the appropriate resources in the community. Law enforcement officers did their best, but they were limited in scope to what they could do with these calls. And of course, they were bound by their badge and the laws that they had to defend and protect. And so for our team to be able to go out and use discretion on these calls and do really what's best for the patient is what I'm most proud of. But honestly, from my point of view, it's the fact that Dane County Human Services, Dane County Public Health, the fire department, the police department, the 911 center, the mayor's office, we're all able to work together under this common vision, which has been incredible because, as you can imagine, city government can be kind of clunky. A lot of city attorneys are involved in the program, but everybody really came together to make this happen, and that's what I'm really proudest for.
Okay, Chase Stedman, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be right back.